Welcome to another week of the Rest Days Community Podcast. This week, I interview Emily Williams. It's hard to describe Emily in a few sentences, as she's so full of life and stories. Emily is the co-founder and director of Everybody Outdoors, a group that holds regular walks around the country for plus-size people, making sure that everybody type feels welcome in the outdoors. They also work with brands to improve the size inclusivity of their clothing, reducing barriers for people to enjoy the outdoors with the right equipment. Emily is someone who loves the outdoors, and through her active life has come to understand how important this relationship is to her, but that she doesn't have to prove anything to belong there. She is a mum of a teenage son, almost old enough to leave the nest, and is enjoying more freedom with her time. She loves to swim, canoe, and ride her cargo bike everywhere. As well as all of this, Emily is the bicycle mayor for Inverness and a passionate advocate for active travel. She campaigns for outdoor spaces that people can enjoy safely. I hope you enjoy her episode. Okay, Emily, thank you very much for joining me on my Rest Days podcast. I am very excited to hear everything you have to say, even if it's going to be completely off topic and wonderfully tangential. But I think you have lots of wonderful things to say. So I've given a bit of an intro for you. And the reason that I really fancy chatting to you about this is I heard you say somewhere that you have now made a rule in your life that you want things to be at least 75% type 1 fun to be worth doing. So I'd love to talk all about that, but first could you just start with what are the types of fun?
What are the types of fun? So I think there are 3 types of fun, possibly 4. We might have expanded it. So type 1 fun is like genuinely fun while you're doing it and is just pleasurable and nice. Type 2 fun is not necessarily fun while you're doing it and quite challenging, but it always makes a really good story to tell in the pub afterwards. Type 3 fun is not fun in any context at all. It's like the bit of an adventure that you really wish didn't happen, where you possibly almost died. And then we were on holiday and we went to type 4 fun, which is not actually fun, but you get a really good photo out of the internet.
Oh dear, that's definitely like since Instagram event.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like a memory day fun.
Okay.
Like where you get like a really nice family photo and everybody's smiling, but you're like, nah, actually it wasn't that much fun when we were doing it.
Okay. So, yes, I have enjoyed many of the types of fun in my life. I've not enjoyed some of them too. And I think what's interesting about that was, why does type 3 exist at all? How is the word fun put in there? Who made that? Why? What?
I don't know. I think it's just because, so these for me have always been in the context of going on an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And there are often unforeseen bits of adventures that are just not fun.
Right, okay. So you didn't set out to achieve type 3 fun.
You never plan. You sometimes I think a lot in the outdoors, when you listen to people talking about outdoor stuff, there's a lot of almost like slightly fetished idealisation of type 2 fun as the proper, in inverted commas, way to be outdoors. Because if you're not doing something gnarly and hard and you're not conquering something or doing a thing with an arbitrary number of hills in it arbitrarily fast to make it difficult, and like, well, it just bores me to tears. And so I think that type 1 fun is massively underappreciated in the outdoor sphere.
Yeah.
Because there's so many of the stories that you hear, there's an element of suffering and conquering about them. And I am old enough to not be asked to suffer or conquer anything. Because I've tried it, it wasn't that fun, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I think that's very reasonable. What do you think about that language as well? Do you think where did the language around it come from?
I honestly don't know. It's just one of those things where if you're in a group of outdoor people and you say, how was your day? And it's like, oh, it's type 2 fun. Everybody knows what you're talking about. So I have no idea where it originally comes from.
And then I find it interesting as well. I think a lot of group sports and activities in the UK, there so much of the language has become suffer, pain cave, all that stuff, rather than, it's not that common. You just hear about somebody talking about going for a cycle and it was just a really joyous day and they saw a bird and the sun was shining, and there's not nice
No, and I don't understand why that's not also celebrated. So I think there's like, and that's been a lot of what I've been trying to talk about when I'm out, doing outdoor stuff, is even challenging adventures can be made fun by allowing yourself plenty of time to do them, taking along people who are going to be a great crack.
Yeah.
That's like really, really key. It's taking your funniest friends with you. And there is like this amazing, the sense of like joyfully, with a smile on your face, overcoming something that's challenging or physically challenging is great. But I don't think you have to suffer to do it. I don't understand why suffering has got such a place in the outdoor storytelling narrative.
I know, I can't tell which came first. Did people try things that seemed like an achievement? For example, a first ascent of a mountain or something, right? And then it was really hard. So then to have achieved something, you had to have done something hard? Or was it that they thought that's going to be hard, therefore it will be an achievement? I don't know which one.
I think it's both. I mean, I think if you look at the history of mountaineering and adventure literature, until 15, 20 years ago, it was really rare to hear a woman write about anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of that sort of massive canon of writing has quite colonialist overtones to it, and you've got a team of British mountaineers and they're off to conquer somewhere in their empire, and it's not something that vibes with me even in the slightest.
I don't think it vibes with most people though.
But if you go to film festivals, and I've been to a lot of film festivals in the last year, it's the story. It's still predominantly teams of white men going somewhere with really big mountains on some big expedition to ski, run, bike, blah, 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 whatever. Something that's never been done before, and it's like, well, has it been done? It's just nobody's documented it and told you about it. But what's so special about that? And you very rarely get to hear anything about them, how it impacted them, or like how it changed them as a person, or any of that really interesting personal stuff.
Yeah, there's been a few stories, I guess, told in the last few years where you're starting to see a bit of, oh, well, actually, the whole family suffered and it was terrible.
Absolutely.
But not many of them. And I have to say that I'm glad those stories are starting to be told a bit, because I used to watch stuff and I'd be like,
it's just
but
boring.
wait a second. What about all the people in this person's life? What are they?
So I mean, but as well, if you come at it from a feminist point of view, access to that sort of adventure is massively gendered.
Totally.
So, women, especially once they've become mothers, don't have, in general, of course somebody's going to point out an exception, but in general, don't have access to a 6-week-long trip to the Himalayas to fulfill an ambition.
Yeah.
And if they do, you will hear about how they organised it in their story. So loads of their story will be focused about how they had to organise childcare. Like, no father who goes on an expedition ever gets asked who's looking after his children.
Oh no, I know. It's insane, isn't it? And the worst part is the women who do it will be slaughtered in the comments section for this is so irresponsible that this woman left her child at home and went to the mountains.
I know. So it's like, So I find it like the selection of stories that get told and the way that they are told is patriarchal and colonialist.
Yeah.
And like I say, it fetishizes this idea of like having to suffer to achieve something, and if you've suffered, that makes it more worthy. And I don't actually think that is something which invites a broad spectrum of people into the outdoors and makes them feel welcome.
No, it doesn't. And even sometimes I think the super lost voices of this often are like the men who don't want to do that, because I feel like now there's more of a movement on the women's side to be like, we want to be involved, but also we want to be able to do it our way, and we want to be able to, but if you're a guy, you're still kind of the only people you're allowed to be are the ones going to do the hard achievements. You're not, guys are even more so not supposed to be going out and just enjoying the sunshine and the birds.
And it's like when it comes down to this thing that I've thought about a lot over the last few years, it's like, what am I doing it for? What's it bringing me? What am I contributing to the whole state of things? And how do I keep my motivation to carry on doing that?
Yeah, because that's a big thing as well, isn't it? Do you have an example of something that you think was an achievement but didn't involve suffering? Or do you think that now the word achievement just can't be associated with that kind of thing?
I just think, why do we have to achieve anything?
Yeah.
Like, if we're going to be more radical, I'm competitive about some things, but I'm not competitive about sport and being outdoors. I've never been particularly, in inverted commas, good at it. I've never been fast at anything. I'm quite strong, but I'm not fast. And I just don't get it. I don't get why ticking a list and finishing it is so important to some people, brackets my husband.
So even though you've got that in your house for a very long time,
absolutely.
you still don't get it.
Totally. Like, I used to annoy him so much by going on walks with him to not quite the summit of hill.
To be fair, I know a lot of people who probably have shuddered when you said that.
It's like, I just deliberately stay 50 metres away from the summit just to piss him off. Which brings me a certain degree of joy, because I'm quite petty.
But something in that is just a brain type thing. It's like the people who come back at 99.5 kilometres on their cycle, they have to go around the block to make it 100. There's some people need that.
Yeah.
But
And I think this is the thing. Like, there is sometimes, if you choose it, benefit in challenging yourself. And there's definitely, I've learned a lot about myself in the outdoors in challenging moments.
Yes,
And that is definitely something to be, in certain contexts, welcomed.
Yeah.
But that's not really why I usually do it.
Yeah. I think the important thing is that if you want to be outdoors or active, that doesn't have to be a challenge. And I think everybody in some way needs something challenging in their life. I'm not really sure, and this is just a personal
it's like
opinion,
this idea of, I think there's something to be gained by being moderately uncomfortable.
Yes, yeah.
Right? So I think it's perfectly possible in the modern world to remove almost all points of discomfort and friction from your life, and that is not beneficial overall. I think like constantly rubbing up against things, knocking corners off, like, is really important.
Yeah.
But you don't have to suffer.
No.
You don't have to suffer to do that. It's like camping is not comfortable, but you also don't have to sleep on the lightest weight 3/4 length thermarest mat. You could just buy yourself a big fat comfortable one.
Yeah. Yes. Totally.
And you could take a pillow.
Yes, absolutely.
So, it's like the degree of which the suffering is the focus of it, I think, is for me the thing that sort of...
Yeah, and the suffering sometimes becomes like this badge of honor or something, like you can't get into the club without it. I think it's quite tricky.
And it's like, don't get me wrong, I have a certain admiration for the type of person who will set off on a bike ride with 12 litres of stuff and then sleep in ditches and eat food from service stations that's rubbish. But for me, that's not a motivating, it's not a motivating and inspirational story that makes me think, oh, I want to go and do that.
Yeah.
Like, so I think for what I want is more diversity in the story.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that those stories shouldn't be told and don't have interest, but I don't think it should be such a dominant narrative.
I think the interesting and important part as well is that most people are in the same boat as you.
Yeah.
Most of my job is persuading people to do healthy things with their lives, and most people think that they can't do that or don't want to do that because that means, oh, well, I have to keep up with a certain speed, I have to be a certain size and shape and fitness.
The perniciousness of a guidebook time is something I wish I could eradicate. I mean, it's like way to make anybody who doesn't, I might live with someone who doesn't feel like he's done well on a walk unless he has beat the guidebook time. I never make a guidebook time, and I know that, and that's fine. But it's really complicated because it presents to people that there is a correct
a way
of doing things, and that if they're not meeting that criteria and they're not confident in their place in the outdoors, that can be really exclusionary.
And even more frustrating, there are people out there who actively voice that if you weren't meeting the guidebook time, maybe you're not cut out to be there, which is just obviously complete nonsense and rubbish, because why does walking it 2 hours slower change anything?
Yeah, because maybe, like, you found a cool frog and you watched him jump along, or like you stopped and found beautiful orchids, or maybe you just noticed more, maybe you were just ambling along, maybe you walked slower. But like, at what point is achieving guidebook time become like this sort of indicator of success?
I know.
And why does it have to even be successful?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I find that a really interesting thing. So I used to run the cycling community, and we advertised rides, and we didn't advertise times of how long it was going to take, because the idea was it would take what the group needed it to take. Yeah. But this was a constantly recurring issue, because people would say to me, well, I want to know how long it's going to take because I want to know if I'm able to do it. And I'd say, well, you are able to do it, because it takes, it just takes how long it takes, and we'll just... And it was like this, and they would be like, yeah, but I don't think I can come. I don't know if I can ride for 2 hours. And I'd be like, but if we ride for 2 hours and then we walk the rest, then that's what it took. Do you know, like, it was just really hard, because everybody's got this idea that there has to be this amount of time, and they've gauged themselves on whether they can do that. And it was all very interesting. And then there was the opposite camp of people who wanted to know how long it was going to take, because if it was going to be too slow, because it was going to be maybe too slow, and they need to know, well, I'm not interested in doing it if I won't be doing it at this.
Yeah, I mean, everybody gets something different out of being in the outdoors, but I guess getting older, which is rubbish, but better than all the alternative, makes you really reflect on why you're doing things. So I think for me, it's like I've reached the point, 48, perimenopausal, and it's like the neatly presented idea that you can just train a lot and get fitter, and that will be an almost linear relationship, has majorly broken down in my life. It's previously, it was like I can decide to do something, I can train for a couple of years, I can get better at the thing. And as far as I can work out, the last 3 years have been a constant series of starting again. And whatever life interruption there is, you're injured, you've got a dodgy knee, your child is doing whatever, your job has gone a bit mental and you can't cope with it anymore. and there's all these life things, and it just, the last 5 years have felt to me like a constant series of well, let's just pick ourselves up and start again. And I've never reached the point, like I've never got back to being as fit as I was 5 years ago. But if I hadn't just carried on starting again, I'd be in a very different place now. And I think what's not often acknowledged is that we are all one medical incident or 1 year away from a body that doesn't, that you can't just train and make it better. Like, that's just such an ableist idea that you're able to be in control of all of that, when for so many people it's not. And it's like, well, so how, if you're not going outside to be fitter and to conquer stuff and to train and be better, why are you doing it? And for me, I'm doing it because I really benefit from feeling connected to the natural world. I really have massively benefited from my whole life from these kind of really deep friendships that you cannot have in any other way than by misadventuring.
Yeah.
And for me, that's all. That's what I want.
No,
like,
and I think that's amazing. You've actually touched onto something, that's so central to my entire reasoning of wanting to do this podcast, and this like start again thing, that I never hear that story told. The thing is, the people, occasionally somebody overcame something.
But that's it. You overcome something. Then I watched a whole film about some guy overcoming Crohn's disease. You don't overcome Crohn's disease, mate. You learn to live with it.
Yeah, like, it's not going away.
It's not going away.
It's not going anywhere.
Like, this idea, but again, it comes back to this like really conquering thing. It's like, why does that keep coming back in? Like, why can you not just learn to coexist with the thing?
And realistically, that idea is just going to lead to like mental suffering, because you're going to think, I've conquered it this time. You, I promise you have not. Just wait. Life is throwing you a curveball next week, and and you're going to be really sad when you realise that you have to start again. Yeah, it's all about it should be about this sustainable. How can I be healthy and happy amongst whatever life is going to throw?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't. And most of the time, the people who are able to do the really craziest things that films get made about and things get written about, they have had such a lucky journey and pathway to get there.
Yeah.
And health is one of those things where when you have it, you're not grateful for it because you don't know what you have.
Yeah.
But barely ever do people talk about the fact that the people who got to these places just, they just were so lucky, and they didn't have to start over and over. And most people are starting over and over because their relationship broke down, their finances went skew with, something weird happened with their health, anything, And
I think like that, the power and motivation to start again, even acknowledging that you're not going to be as good as you once were, is something that's really difficult.
Yeah.
I haven't been this summer. I really need to go back to the gym and start lifting weights again, because it's really good for me. But it's the summer, it's quite hard to do in the summer. And I'll go back and I'll be able to lift half of what I could lift when I was, doing it. I haven't done it regularly for a year because I got knocked off my bike and I've got a knee injury. But I now need to start again. And starting again is really tough.
It is. I focused a lot in my life about some of the questions you asked, like, why am I doing this? When I start again, if it's really tough, do I need to start again? And then I would always come back round to the similar thing to you, where actually I need the outdoor connection, and actually moving my body makes me feel good. It does. And if I don't do it, I realise.
Yeah.
And but if I do it all the time regularly, I can take it for granted.
Well, absolutely. It's like my relationship with yoga. I know full well that doing 20 minutes of yoga 4 to 5 times a week makes my back much happier. And I will maybe do that for like 6 to 8 months, and then I'll be like, oh look, it's great, it's worked, and then I'll stop doing it. And like 3 or 4 weeks later, I'll be like, no, I need to carry on to maintenance activity. I need to carry on doing. And, it just seemed to be stacking up. Like massive lists of maintenance activities, right, that I need to do on a really regular basis just to stop myself seizing up. And so it's like, I can't do as much outdoors because I've just come back from 5 days of canoeing and I'm quite stiff. And I need to now concentrate this week on doing yoga. And, but it's like that. I think there's just that balance. And I probably realistically need to make peace with the fact that that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm in a phase of managed decline.
Well, I think as well, and I spend a lot of time talking about this with people at work, that I think we all have to accept that life does require a bit of maintenance. Like your house, you can't just leave it. It will eventually crumble. Your body will do the same eventually. We have to do a little bit of maintenance to it, unfortunately. But in life, and I talked about this a lot in another episode, there's pushes and pulls. So the pull is, it's a beautiful sunny day and my friend's going for a walk, so I want to go with them. That sounds joyous. But there's pushes of like, oh, actually, I've spent the whole day on the laptop working and I'm not really feeling good. So that pushes you outside as well.
Yeah.
And the maintenance is a bit of a, it's not a pull. You don't really want to do it, but you're being pushed to do it because you kind of need to.
Yeah. It's like, one of my really good friends lives in Edinburgh, and we quite often, just to make ourselves leave the house in the morning, phone each other, put our headphones on and go for a 20-minute chat together.
I love that.
Like, this morning we are going to, we pre-arrange it, whatever time we have to get up. This morning we are going to go for a walk at 8 o'clock together in separate cities.
I think that's such a good idea. But that's also, that we're in this super privileged position that we have people who want to do that stuff. And if you've not grown up around that and you don't already exist in that, then how do you get into that? And how do you meet the people that
so this is not anything terribly like.
No, but you have a friend who wants to go outside, right?
Yeah.
Some people don't have that at all.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think you can grow that.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think growing communities that want to do like-minded things is one of the really powerful things that you can do in your life that leaves some legacy if we're interested in a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And it also, I kind of quite like the rebellious anti-capitalist streak of that. So I've spent, one of the things I've tried to interest myself in this year is some alternative economic theories about how the world might work. And so I read something that's really interesting, and it is that capitalism has sort of granularized and commodified things and stripped us of our community and in order to sell it back to us.
Yes, I agree.
Meeting up with friends can be commodified by this idea that you meet up with friends in a cafe and you sit around and you chat and you spend money while you're doing it. And exercise has become a thing that you go to the gym and that you do, and then your nature experiences can also be commodified and sold to you through some package. But actually, you could just take a flask and a friend and go for a walk and do all three of those things at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the reasons we all feel so starved for time is that we have to exercise, we have to cook, we have to do all of these things, but they've become individual activities that we do on our own, and that actually by combining them and doing them communally, you can overlap a lot of those functions and build community.
Definitely.
So I have a standing afternoon date with one of my friends where we spend 2 hours together in each other's garden, and we swap round weeks, and we just do garden jobs and outdoor things that we've put off for a long time together. Often the person whose garden it's not just sort of stands around there and chats and hands them tools, and it's like you sometimes feel like you're not really doing anything in that situation, but actually I would never be doing it if she wasn't standing there. But again, it's socialising, it's getting something done. We would never make that much time to get together and be social if we were not also getting stuff done.
Yeah.
And to my mind, that's as much about being outside and connecting with the world as going up a hill or going canoeing. Like, they've become much less separate
Yes.
for me.
Yeah. I think, I mean, so much of what's missing now in the world is community and things that we got from community. And I really think with giving ourselves spaces to do things that are good for us, but we don't value maybe.
Yeah.
A lot of that was lost with community, I think. Because now everything does have to be kind of productive. You can't just do things with people anymore. But that just sounds very lovely, doing a garden with somebody else.
But yeah, why does socialising with your friends have to be this thing where you get together, you know, the sort of stereotypical, we'll get together and have coffee and a chat and catch up, but you don't actually do anything together, you just chat about things that happen to you separately. And I think you build much better friendships when you have joint endeavour and you do stuff together.
Plus, also, just before we started, I was saying to you that, you know, that you shouldn't sit directly opposite somebody if you want to have a proper conversation. And if you do, but proper conversations come out a lot better when you're doing stuff, especially side by side. So running, walking, cycling, gardening, whatever you're doing side by side, you'll get people's real, true feelings out.
I know I feel better if I go out and do these things regularly.
Yeah.
But how do I motivate myself to do that? And so really thinking about, and for me, company is a big one. I'm rubbish at doing things on my own. I live with someone who loves to go for an 80 or 90 mile bike ride on their own. For me, that sounds so utterly tiring. Spending that long with my thoughts is just awful. And I would just come back as an out and out extrovert. I would come back feeling really depleted.
Yeah.
Like mentally from that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas if I've just got someone to chat to, even sometimes, I could probably go and do that and it would be fine.
Yeah, and I think we also have to recognise those parts of ourselves as well. But again, there's still most things that are made to look really beautiful and achievement worthy are often the more solo it is and the more suffering you went through on your own, the more it seems to be worthwhile. I'm not involved in the ultra cycling community at all, so don't hate me, whoever I offend by saying this. But I struggle with this like real angst about the self-supported thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because I get that is a thing, and yeah, don't get me wrong, so impressive if you did whatever crazy challenge you did self-supported. It clearly is harder. But like, why? Why?
Yeah, I know. And this is the thing, it's like I just couldn't do it. I need people around me. A lot of people are like, oh, you know, my social battery's been used up. And I'm like, my social battery is basically infinite and it recharges me for the rest of my life. And if I spend too much time on my own, that's actually really bad for me.
Yeah. So therefore, I would say for your health, for everybody else around you's happiness, it sounds like it's a good idea you do stuff with people. So we should celebrate that instead of being like, do you know what though, Emily, you didn't really do a good job today because you got snacks from other people, so actually that was a bit of a rubbish job.
Yeah, but like I say, I find the sort of pervasive idea that you have to be achieving something in the outdoors really interesting. I don't know quite why it has so much power and dominance, because I mean there's no doubt that all of these peaks of physical achievement are peaks of physical achievement, but that is all they are.
That's what exactly they are.
And that's not to take anything away from the people who clearly dedicate vast amounts of their time and resources to doing it, but it's not the reality for the vast majority of people. And I just think that if, as the outdoors community, we want to bring more people into it, we have to change what we're talking about slightly and include things that seem inspirational to people who are not yet in the outdoors. If you are intimidated by the idea of going for an hour-long walk on footpaths because you've never really read a map before and you're not quite sure if you can walk that far because you've never done it, then being presented with the idea that, I don't know, completing, the Sky Ridge in 8 hours or whatever it is that's the record is what being a true outdoorsy person means. It just seems so far from your place that it actually puts you off starting. It becomes a barrier rather than an inspiration. So like everybody is always inspired by people who are like 1 or 2 or 3 levels above them. So if you're already really into the outdoors, then some of these massive, great big adventures can seem really inspirational. But actually if you're like 7 or 8 levels different to that person, it just seems so unattainable.
Yes.
That you're put off by it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you think that that's what all of everybody in the outdoors is doing, then you think that, well, I'm not going to be able to join in on that.
And it's like, you go to, for example, you go to a cycling club, right? And you go on a social ride with a cycling club. Oh my word.
It's not. The word social shouldn't be in there. It confuses me.
I mean, it's like, okay, if your social ride is going at an average of 16 to 17 miles an hour, it's not social for 98% of the population of the UK.
Yes, no, it's not.
It's
not even sociable for people who are genuinely really good as well. Often,
and that was at the point where I was cycling really regularly. I was regularly doing, quite a high volume of cycling, maybe 100 miles a week. I'm not afraid of distance and I'm not afraid of a bit of effort, but I was like, there is still no ride offered by my local cycling club that I can keep up with.
Yeah.
Because I can average 13 miles an hour, and I know that. And again, it comes down to like, what are all these sports clubs for? And don't get me started on the let's fund sport to make the population more active rant. Like, somehow we have to broaden the definition of sport.
Yeah.
To remove competitiveness from half of it.
Yeah.
I was traumatised by PE at school. I hated it. I was quite good at music, so I used to tactically organise instrument lessons to miss as much of it as I could. I was quite talented at shot put, but that was my only talent.
You still had a talent, that's great. That's at least
it was like, don't talk to me about high jump. Oh my god. But why are you traumatising children who are not sporty by making them do high jump?
Yeah.
It's like, surely core PE at school should be about teaching people to enjoy or experience a variety of movement in their bodies. Watching my son grow up, primary school, lots of sports clubs, you're very focused on participation. Mixed boys and girls. Every so often there would be like, there's a competition coming up, so we will select a few people to go on the team. But then it's almost like the minute you get into secondary school, it all becomes actually quite competitive.
Yeah.
And quite selective.
Yeah.
And he's lucky because he is really sporty and he wants to do football and he's always chosen to be on the team. But on a societal level, it cannot be beneficial. We fund sports clubs both to produce athletes that can feed into elite programs, but we're also relying on them to deliver mass participation in activity.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work.
No. I think a lot about this. Whose responsibility is it? I think about, individually, I do believe we all have a bit of responsibility to look after ourselves, but we can't take all the responsibility if the access and the services and stuff isn't there. I think if you take cycling as an example, if I already am lucky enough to have the basics and I have a bike, do I know where to cycle? Am I able to read a map? Well, is it my responsibility to have to learn that, or should somebody provide the services for that? I don't know. It's a complicated situation. Is it the cycling club's responsibility to make sure there's definitely a ride that I can go on? I don't know. Maybe that's not the service they provide. But then who is providing that service and who's thinking about that? And then is it just some random person's responsibility to step up and make that space for everybody? But like, why did that have to be on them? And and do they then have to carry that forever?
Yes. I mean, I started a cycling club for mums at primary school.
Nice.
Right? And when we started, I can remember maybe 2 or 3 months in, we cycled 20 miles. And that was a really big achievement for a lot of people.
That is a big one.
And then later on that year, we cycled to Cromarty for lunch and back, and that was 50 miles.
Oh, that's
And
really
there was
big.
a massive amount of chat about pants under cycling shorts before we went on that ride. Because a lot of people bought cycling shorts, and I was like, you can't wear pants underneath them, and they were scandalised.
This, I have to say, anybody who's come into cycling as a woman will have faced this conversation topic at some point and potentially had their mind blown.
Yeah, absolutely. I really remember it in advance. Though one of them was like, my husband is scandalised by the fact that there are 15 women with no pants on cycling today.
They're not, for people who call trousers pants, by the way, we mean they're going to be wearing like shorts. They're not got nothing on their bottoms.
Underwear.
Yeah.
And a lot of us got really into it. For some reason, we decided we'd do Ride the North, which is 180 miles in 2 days. I'm not really quite sure. Yeah, no, I'm quite sure why we decided we were all going to do that. But Julie had done it before. That's why we all decided we were going to do it. So a lot of us got really keen, and that is still my core group of friends. And like I've made the best friends. But circumstances have changed. We've all got different jobs. We don't all have Fridays free to do a bike ride every Friday, so it's fallen a little bit by the wayside now. But that has still resulted in me having an active group of friends, and you can just go out and build that. But it's hard work.
Yes, very.
And you've got to stick out, like being the person who turns up every week, even though there's only 2 or 3 other people there because it's raining, and so.
That's interesting, isn't it? I think it's super hard because now we come back to this, are we taking achievement out of it fully? I was thinking, as you said those things, I realised that I reacted very positively to the fact that the group existed. I think that's awesome. That's my main positive reaction. But then, as you said, numbers for distances you guys did, I reacted really positively. And I was like, it just was it was just like an automatic reaction.
That was none of that really fell under the definition of type 2 fun.
No, also
it's that thing that you can challenge yourself.
Yes.
Like physically, and test your limits and learn new things about your body without being miserable.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like we are all going to cycle as a big group. We're going to stick together. We're going to stop and drink and have little breaks along the way. We're going to sit down in a restaurant and have pizza for lunch halfway around.
Yes.
And then going to feel slightly
that gets the biggest yes.
Slightly sick cycling up the hill out of Cromarty afterwards. I just think that there is a softer, gentler way to challenge yourself and learn things about yourself than becoming totally focused on what is success. Because by probably broad definitions of cycling success, we didn't cycle that fast.
No, but that sounds like those bits were an achievement to the people
absolutely.
who did it, and so there is achievement doesn't have to become this, I guess, bad word either. It's just so complicated. It just has to be something that makes you feel good, and there is definitely something in achieving something physically that you thought maybe you couldn't do. The confidence you gain in your whole life from doing something like that can be huge.
And most people are way more capable than they believe they are in the outdoors.
Yeah, I think basically everybody, even really, even the people who are pushing themselves right to the limits are probably can do even more. It's normally our brain that stops us a long time before our bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's all about self-efficacy, which is something I only learned about this year.
Tell me more.
self-efficacy is a sort of sister to self-esteem. So self-esteem is your innate belief in yourself, your self-worth and yourself as a person. Whereas self-efficacy is your belief in yourself as capable to do a task.
Okay.
So it's task specific and context specific. So you might have an abundance of self-efficacy in some areas of your life and much less in other areas of your life. It's not something you hear about very much. It's apparently something I have in spades, and I regularly get myself into quite a lot of trouble by believing that I can do all sorts of things and setting off to do them. But it's something that a lot of people in the outdoors, women especially, and I mean I do a lot of advocacy for the plus size community, and I think that's somewhere where people really are lacking in that. And there's it's a well studied topic. There's lots of proven ways that you can improve people's self-efficacy. And one of the ways that is really effective is seeing and hearing about people like them doing things.
Yeah.
And I mean, the most effective one is being taught to do it and doing it.
Yeah.
You know, so the more you do stuff, the more you believe you can do it. But you've got to lead people into that situation. And the first step is often seeing someone who they identify with personally doing it. And that's where that idea is sparked. I think that's why I've got so passionate about which stories are chosen to be told and why they're chosen to be told.
Yeah, I think there's so much value in that. I mean, yeah, basically the two things that have driven most of what I've done in the last few years are that I think that there is a failing and we can all be happier and healthier if we have access to the outdoors and to movement. But also there is this you can't be what you can't see thing that is just so true. You just can't imagine that something is possible. And right now, the kind of women's football revolution is absolutely showing that, isn't it? All these, I feel like I'm constantly hearing about young girls who. And
I am way more interested in women's football than I am in men's football.
Oh yeah, same. Yeah.
Mostly because my son is slightly disparaging about it. And I'm just like, well, I'm not listening to your stupid men football. I'm only going to talk about women's football.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I think representation is like that. I mean, like, why is there such a lack of diversity in the outdoors? Because historically it was presented as being, or again, the correct way of being outdoors was presented as being something that was probably relatively middle to upper class and only accessible if you had loads of money. You know, we go back to Victorian time. All sorts of people went outdoors, but that wasn't presented or talked about or written about in books. They just went outdoors because they worked outdoors or they had to walk from A to B, and all of those things are really important. And I still think that if you want to improve activity levels on a population basis, we have to change the infrastructure of the places that we live.
Oh yeah. We just need to make the world less friendly for cars and more friendly for everything else.
Absolutely. I spend a lot of my time talking about that, which I think also brings back to the other bit that I think that's often not talked about in outdoorsy sort of podcasty things, is that we almost, again, we've spoken loads about all of the massive benefits of being outside, but you not that often hear about the great playground of the outdoors. Is not just a playground, it's a place that's suffering and under threat, and I think it's kind of incumbent on us all to take some interest and advocacy and actually preferably practical action in doing something to contribute to making that a little bit better. And so that's been, for me, immensely rewarding in the last few years.
Yeah. Well, we kind of earlier talked about, we were talking about where you live, and we both live in, well, I think it's an amazing and very lucky place to live, up in Inverness. Where you live has a lot of impact on that. Right here, we have the outdoors thrown in our faces.
Yeah.
So you can't really not care about it. And you also have insanely easy access to it. And a lot of people who are here moved here for it. So how much do you think where you are positioned, which for many people is not something they're lucky enough to choose, makes a difference to your ability to enjoy being outside or be active?
Well, again, I think this is when we come down to the difference between sport and activity. Activity is really, really, really vital, but fundamentally, 40-50% of the population maybe engage in sport. The other 40-50% don't have the time or the resources, and it's not a choice. It's a lack of facilities, lack of time, lack of money, lack of mental energy, because everything's hard work. And so it's like, well, how, at a population level, unless you're embedding activity into your everyday life, you're not going to change it.
Of course.
So, but you can take that on a more individualised level. It's like, well, why is going for a walk up, so driving somewhere to go for a walk up a specific hill that's on a list, so much more venerated than being able to fit in a 45-minute wander round the paths that you can go to, around the park. And I think this is where all the different ways of engaging with the outside are really important. It's why, I've been campaigning for years for play streets, because I think doorstep play is a really vital part of childhood development. I think people should have the power to be able to close their road for a couple of hours to let children play on it.
Yeah,
and
I love that idea.
Then, also, maybe possibly my next campaign, parklets are amazing. The idea you can take a parking space, which quite frankly is the biggest waste of urban space ever, and transform it into a place where people can grow something, meet, socialise, talk to them. And it's like these kind of smaller interventions in urban areas that are going to be really important in engaging. And those sorts of things can act as a spark, and maybe somebody's inspired to do something else afterwards.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of my time campaigning about it. The research is irrefutable.
Yes, as often as it is with all these kind of topics.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like we're lacking in the political courage to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody said the other day, we were talking about climate anxiety, and it was actually a really good point. And it's like, it's the same. I don't feel stressed so much by climate change and the climate as by the lack of political will to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And so actually, I've decided that I no longer have climate anxiety, I have political inaction anxiety. Because, quite frankly, the people who we're voting in spend more time listening to large corporations and business interests than they do acting in the interests of the population that they're supposed to represent.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I think I feel the same way there. I think I have political anxiety about a lot of subjects.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like the evidence is irrefutable, yet we're not changing how we act.
Oh, I know, and it's always the same with these. It's always the same in these things. The sort of best guaranteed way to cure somebody's high blood pressure is to do some activity.
Yeah.
But it's so much easier to hand people out tablets.
Yeah.
And that doesn't cure your blood pressure. It means you're on tablets for the rest of your life, and it's going to be really annoying, and probably going to cause you side effects and loads of issues.
Yeah.
But
people go to the doctor for a quick fix, not to be told to make an effort.
But but our society has caused that issue. If it was a normal thing that people thought that you would go to the doctor and you would get sent home with an exercise plan, then maybe people would be open to the idea. Or if it was just if there was a draw to do it, if there was a nice space to do it, if there was a way that it made their life more efficient. If cycling to work was the more efficient way.
Yeah, or even just apparently safe way. I mean, that's the big thing for all of this. And it's really interesting when you start drilling into that. So there's lots of research that over the past 80 to 90 years, the amount of time people spend commuting to work has not changed dramatically, but the distance people commute to work has increased.
Ooh, interesting, yeah.
So people are always willing to make a sort of time sacrifice to travel to work, and by building more roads and making car travel easier, all people do is choose to live further away from work.
So
And then
interesting.
lock themselves into car dependency. This is what I mean by society, like political inactivity. Like, why are we not taxing large cars out of commonplace existence on our roads? Why are we not have graduated parking charges? You know, all of these things that would make absolute sense if you were focused on population health and population safety. So I think it's very important to recognise that people make choices within a system that is stacked against them doing the best things.
Yeah, definitely. You're already kind of at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Even if we take out actual sport,
Yeah.
you know, and we just say, let's move more.
But yeah. But the fact that that every time somebody in the government says, "Oh, population needs to be more active," they fund sport because they're fobbing themselves off from having to make different choices in other areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm very.
So are you still a bicycle mayor?
I am still bicycle mayor of Inverness.
Wonderful. Do you have a term? How does it work?
I've just come from I'm starting on my second 2-year term.
Wonderful.
I think it's very much something that, there is a 2-year term, but I think it probably just rolls over unless you can think of somebody else who would. I don't think there's a queue of other people knocking on the door to be Inverness's bicycle mayor.
Darn it.
Darn it. Yes. No, I enjoy it actually. It's been really rewarding.
But is it sometimes? I can totally see where the reward would be, but I could also imagine that sometimes it could be quite banging your head against a wall. Or are you?
Well, again, it's yes. I've banged my head against plenty of walls, but I have also achieved some things.
That's really good. This is very nice.
The first thing that I campaigned on was the Riverside Way. And it was a very narrow vote to keep that and to make it into a permanent cycle scheme.
Wow.
Academy Street was unfortunately totally derailed by legal action by the shopping centre.
And so that was to basically make a really busy, polluted street more less busy and polluted with vehicles.
So basically it was to introduce a short section of bus lane in the middle of it, so that while you could still access the whole of the town centre by car, you would not be able to use that street as a through route.
Okay, which makes sense, right, in the centre where there's lots of pedestrians and people with bikes.
Apparently not.
Apparently not, no, I'm sure. No, yeah, sorry. I'm so mistaken.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, there's still lots, like I say, there is now a Highland Play Street scheme.
Yeah, I love that. That's brilliant.
That's taken about 6 years of campaigning.
6 years, wow. But it's a big win for...
6 years and a traffic management qualification.
No way!
Yeah.
What does that qualify you to do?
It qualifies me to design and implement traffic management for community events.
Oh.
So
interesting.
I am equipped with enough traffic signs to close a street.
How did you access that qualification?
That was very kindly funded by the Active Travel team in the council.
Very good.
Possibly mistakenly trained a few cycle activists in traffic management, so we now go around diligently monitoring temporary traffic measures for their compliance with the pedestrian rules.
Brilliant.
Take measure as your best friend.
And is the council regretting this? Yeah.
I think some other bits of the council might be. I think we're fine. There's not a metre of clear space on the pavement next to this sign. You will need to move it into the road.
Brilliant.
But yeah, so like I say, Play Streets are magic. And again, you talk about this thing about activity and community and all of these, and making that available to all places. If you close a road to cars, even very briefly, so we're closing the road for 2 hours on a Sunday, and you give over that space to children to do whatever they want, it's actually genuinely magic how the atmosphere of the street changes. And I think it's one of those things that's actually really important, because it's pretty non-confrontational. We've not had, there's one street that we've been sort of pursuing as a trial street. It's reasonably busy because it's got a car park at the end of it. But it is still like a minor road. But you totally change the sound, the atmosphere, the feel, everything. And I think it's actually really important to let more people feel the benefits of a lower traffic environment. Because I guess you get caught up in campaigning and you get totally into this idea that if there were fewer cars, the world would be a better place. And on a personal level, I'm willing to put up with quite a lot of inconvenience in that to pursue that goal. And I see the benefits of that.
Yes.
Yes, it's maybe slightly less energy to do your shopping by car, but actually it's an awful lot more fun to do it by cargo bike. I love turning up on a cargo bike to places where people expect you to have a car and not having a car.
Yeah, I bet that's really fun, actually.
So like one of my favourite ones is going to the local agricultural merchants for my chicken feed. And there's no cycle parking there. And so every time I go there, I tell them that they should maybe get some car parking, and they tell me that I'm the only person who cycles. And then they're very, very specific in the car park that you should reverse park. So I reverse park my bike in the middle of one of the parking spaces. And then you go and you order your sacks of feed, and they bring them out into you by forklift truck. So you reverse park, and there's a little forklift truck delivery of all the things that you've paid for. And then they look at your bike, and then they're like, yes, I would like that in there. And sometimes they ask if they want me to empty the sack of feed into my panniers, to which the answer is no, the whole sack will fit in, just put it in. And then sometimes they're very worried, because if I've only bought one sack, they think that I might be quite unbalanced. I might be able to manage, but I'm like, all right, I'm about to go and do some other shopping just around the corner to fill up the other one.
This sounds so
It's
entertaining.
so fun, so entertaining. Just cracks me up. And
keeping
then
people on
it's
their
like the other
toes.
one you can do. So actually the easiest larger supermarket to cycle to from here is the one on the A96.
Yeah.
Because you can go through all the little cycle bridges and the pedestrian crossings and take the back countries. It's quite quiet. So I quite often order my shopping online and go and do click and collect on a bike.
I bet they're just like, why didn't you get it delivered to your house?
Yeah, absolutely.
They're just like, why? You're just doing this to prove a point.
Yeah, I am doing it to prove a point, and it makes me very satisfied to do it. I have discovered, tie quite a lot of lumber to the side of a cargo bike when you're in B&Q and take it home. Again, much to some people's consternation. Yeah.
I love this. I have been telling my husband for a while that in the N+1 of bikes, the next one is a cargo bike.
It absolutely must be a cargo bike.
Yeah. I really especially think this because we have a dog, and it really annoys me sometimes that if I want to take the dog somewhere, at the moment that's further than we can walk. Yeah. Then we have to take the car, and I just that does kind of frustrate me.
No, I again, cargo bike, electric cargo bike, one of the most joyous things I have brought into my life.
It sounds so good.
Whizzing around town, because there are so many journeys that are not actually that long or not actually that fast that you do because you need to carry more than you can fit.
Okay, so you have managed to curate a life where you have quite a lot of flexibility. You're working on these projects that also help other people get rest days in their life, where they get to access the outdoors, they get to enjoy being active. What were the bumpy points along the road where you worked out that this was what was important?
Lots. I guess. So I guess we are at a point in our lives where we are reaping the rewards of having been very sensible when we were younger. I graduated from university. I didn't have a year out. I got a job, and I was very sensible. And then I had the same job for nearly 20 years. And similarly, my husband's had quite a sensible career, and I gave up 2 weeks into the first lockdown. So I was already reasonably disenchanted with my life, and then 3 of us stuck in this house trying to work, 2 of us trying to work and homeschool our child. It was like, okay, the wheels have massively fallen off. And this is like this, it was just like, this is completely unsustainable. So I gave up really soon into that.
I have a lot of respect though that you didn't go 2 years further and find yourself in a much deeper, darker hole.
No, honestly, it was awful.
Okay.
It was like, I would say that safely say, and that was after a number of quite stressful years. So my husband's mother had brain cancer and died, and they lived in the Czech Republic. My dad, who I didn't have much contact with, but anyway, he died like the Christmas just before that lockdown. And so, and we've been saying for a long time, we just want a year where nothing big happens,
and then
we got COVID.
Right,
and then a pandemic happened, and we were like, we still haven't had that year. So we were both pretty at the end of our tether at that point. So that's when I gave up my sensible engineering job, and I did sort of say, I just can't do this while there's lockdown. And then 2 years later I was like, no, I'm never coming back, I'm never doing that again. And because it was lockdown and we weren't doing anything, actually financially that was fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a realisation that really crystallised then, that what you expect to be able to do grows with the amount of money that you earn, and that you don't have to tie yourself to that forever. You can choose less and work less.
Yeah.
So.
And sometimes for your own sustainable life, you. But
exactly, and it's made me think very differently about things. And so we recently had a big splurge holiday, which we maybe do every 8 or 9 years, and it was amazing. So we had a really amazing time, but it cost us lots of thousands of pounds. And when I think about it, I'm like, oh, that would have been 5 months' work. You know what I mean? It's like, when you start distilling these things down, I was like, that holiday was absolutely amazing, but would I rather do that, not work for 5 months?
Yeah.
Actually, I quite often, more and more, I'm coming down on the side of, I'd rather just not work. And so actually, deciding quite proactively to do without things gives you a lot more flexibility and freedom.
I think that's so interesting, because I think we're driven automatically into this, right? Follow the path, do the next step, study till the point you need the thing, do the job, the full-time job, and if you work less than full-time, what are you doing? Why would you, nonsense, So
my husband really struggles with that, because he's working 2.5 days a week.
Yeah.
And he's constantly like, I feel like I should work more.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, but I feel like I should work more. And I'm like, why? Just go out on your bike.
Yeah. I struggle with that because I have a contract for 3 days a week. I end up working the other 2 days, but because I can't say to people that it's, that I officially definitely work those 2 days a week, I feel like such a fraud to people. As I feel very uncomfortable about it, and I'm like, why do I feel so uncomfortable about this?
And it's like, I was going to say to Francis, like, you've got to the position where you're an expert in your field,
and he definitely should feel chill about it, because he's worked for a lot longer than I have to be.
It's like you've got 20 years of experience that's led to you being able to do this. So just do it.
But something has made us believe that we should be like.
And I still find it quite confronting not having a job, but working on projects, some of which might make me money later on, some of which make me a little bit of money now.
But if they don't make you money, that shouldn't matter. Again, this is like some kind of weird achievement, progress thing that's come out. Because I think that is a very interesting. I have no doubt, having met you fairly briefly, that you are always working on something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure of that. But whether or not those are things that society validates, I don't know. That's not, but this is just, but that's where it's super complicated. And I think it's the same thing in all of the parts of our life. We're expected to always be working to the absolute most.
But that's another really interesting game is if you meet somebody or introduce them, or as a challenge for people, is to introduce yourself by not defining yourself as any of the things that you do.
Yeah.
And it's actually really challenging to, what do you do? I'm an engineer. And I'm like, to not have that easy answer was quite difficult. But there's loads of, sometimes we sit back and go, oh, we're really lucky. And it's like, well, there's loads of choices that go in that. We live in a slightly unfixed house that we've had for 25 years. And moving house to another bigger house is really expensive. And I've watched a lot of our friends go, well, we can afford a bigger house. And it's like, but
do you need to move to a bigger house?
But what are you giving up
to
get a bigger house? And what you're giving up is freedom from a mortgage.
Yeah.
So, we will live in a slightly cramped, slightly not fixed house because it gives us freedom in other aspects.
Yeah.
And that and a bigger house would just be more cleaning.
Yeah.
There's more places to put things, more places to lose things, and more tidying up.
More things that need to be fixed.
Not interested in. It's really hard to just say, actually, this is enough. I'm not sure that many people have this conversation about, like, what am I spending money on? What does it cost me to earn the money in terms of freedom?
Yeah.
And could I be more free by having less?
Yeah. I think that's super interesting and so topical for this. It might not be a specific rest day activity, but this is all about the balance in our life and how we're looking after ourselves. Are we just endlessly chasing something for a reason we don't really understand, that's actually taking away from us and stopping us from being able to be as healthy and happy as we could be? Yeah. There's a lot of that.
And it's like the catch-22. Now that I don't have a job that I have to go to every day, we have more time and we spend less money.
Yeah.
Because you don't ever get in a rush and have to go and buy yourself lunch somewhere. We cook from scratch for the majority of our things because what we wanted to do anyway, we didn't have time or energy to do it before.
So it's not even just in giving yourself time to do some activities, you're also able to now make yourself eat better by the sounds of things. There's so many extra little wins that you've gained yourself, and but as a society we're generally being conned out of because we're told you need to do. Well, I think that this whole ethos has kind of brought us back round to the 75% type 1. I think your life, you've managed to, I think you've pretty much embodied it well in your life, I'd say. And I appreciate that you're practicing what you preach. That is always a good start. Sometimes I like to find out if that's the truth behind these great messages. Is it achievable? Well, yes, it is apparently. So I really, really appreciate everything you have told us about your life, about your ideas. And I think that I will be taking the 75% type 1 into a lot of the stuff I do, because
I think it's really worth asking when you go out in the morning and you're like, I've got a day and I'm going to do something, what at this point will bring me the most joy? Because we are all, quite frankly, lacking in joy in life in general at the moment, and I think if you can go and find some in a non-destructive way in the outdoors, then that is the way forward.
Thank you, Emily. That is great advice.
Thank you for listening to episode 4 of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed Emily's incredibly honest story. I appreciate that she shared her perspective so openly. If you want to see more from the community, follow us at Rest Days Community on Instagram, or check out our website, restdayscommunity.com. See you next week.